In consideration to performers and other audience members, we ask you to please take a moment to silence your cell phone or any other devices, and to refrain from text messaging during the performance. If needed, this hall is equipped to provide assistance for the hearing impaired. Devices are available upon request. West Texas A&M University thanks you for your attendance. We'll begin our program shortly.
Good evening and welcome. My name is James Hallmark, and I've been asked to introduce the program this evening, and it's Questions of Fairness and Faith, a dramatic reading of the life of Job. If you have a program, it honestly says everything you need to know. Jere's done a good job of putting together a very informative program that describes his purpose and his goal. There's a couple of things I did want to draw your attention to. First of all, it is a course that fulfills the requirements for communication course and performance theory, and this performance is sponsored by the Department of Communication here at West Texas A&M University. I also wanted to mention a couple of names that are not mentioned in the program, and that is Adam Cassiana and Renee Rapp, and they are providing stage, sound, and recording for this evening. I hope you enjoy and are challenged by this evening's Readers Theater. Afterward, Josh Roberts and I will be providing a brief critique, and I hope you'll stay and hear that as well. And at this time, I'll turn it over to our performance, Readers Theater of Questions of Fairness and Faith.
In the land of Uz, there lived a man whose name was Job. This man was blameless and upright. He feared God and shunned evil. He had 7 sons and 3 daughters. He owned 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camel, 500 yoke of oxen, and 500 donkeys. And he had more servants than anyone in all the land of the east. Job was the greatest man among all the peoples of the east. My name is Job. I am ever faithful to my Lord, the God of the heavens and of the earth. How could I do anything else? Look at everything he's given me. I have fame and fortune and friendship and family. What more could a man want? Everywhere I go, people shout out my name. People thrust their babies into my arms so I can brush their forehead with my lips. But I know my place. I strive to remain forever humble. All that the Lord has given me is a gift. I have been as faithful as possible to him, and he has been faithful and kind. I rejoice in the Lord. I sing praises to his name. I worship him with all my heart, soul, and mind. In his presence, I am nothing, while he simply is. There must be thousands. What's that got to do with it? Thousands, not with camels either. Millions and millions of mankind. Burned, crushed, broken, mutilated, slaughtered. And for what? For thinking. For walking around the world in the wrong skin, the wrong shaped nose, the wrong eyelids, sleeping the wrong night, wrong city. London, Dresden, Hiroshima. There never could have been so many suffered more for less. But where do I come in?
All we have to do is start. Job will join. Job will be there.
I know. I've seen him. Job is everywhere I go. His children dead, his work for nothing, counting his losses, scraping his boils, discussing himself with his friends and physicians, questioning everything. The times, the stars, his own soul, God's providence. What do I do?
What do you do?
What do I do? You play God.
I play God. I think I mentioned it.
You play God and I play...
I'd assumed you knew. You see, I think of you and me as opposites.
Nice of you.
I don't mean to be nasty.
You're opposite, a demanding role.
I know.
But worthy of me? Worthy of me?
I offended you. I didn't mean to.
Did I say I was offended? I heard upon his dry dung heap that man cry out who cannot sleep. If God is God, he is not good. If God is good, he is not God. Take the even, take the odd. I would not sleep here if I could. So why play the opposite to God? Father of lies, they call me, don't they? Let me tell you about my family, my wonderful, beautiful family. Are you married? Do you have kids? If you do, I don't have to explain any of this to you. You are of the initiated. If you're not, though, let me see if I can do justice to it all. I am nothing without my wife. I met her years ago. We were both young, and the world to us, as the saying goes, was our oyster. Cliche, I know, but isn't everything when it comes to young love. Those days were a constant shade of hyper-colored euphoria. The initiated know what I mean. She could do no evil in my eyes, nor could I in hers. Every day together was a new adventure. Words can't be written to do justice to young love. Many have tried and all have failed. I gave her my heart, and she entrusted me with hers. We were married, and I didn't think I could ever be any happier. We traveled, we grew, and every now and then we made love. Now, I'm not saying everything was rosy all the time. Again, the initiated know what I mean. We had our spats. She lost her temper, and I lost mine more times than I should have. But never once did I regret a moment of it. For as much as we fought, we fell in love even more. To this day, I still smile whenever I wake next to her in bed and I see her drooling on her pillow. Our first child was born a few years in. Another followed a year later, and then another 2 years after that. Before long, our family grew, and with it, our love for God. How could it not? I know that all I have is a gift from him. Every one of my children, every moment with my wife. Being able to sit around the dinner table and look into each of their smiling faces is a gift I do not deserve. God has blessed me beyond my wildest imaginings, and I thank him for that every second of every day. My life is my Lord's. I trust in him because I cannot imagine living my life any differently.
That's him. That's Joe. He has the wealth, the wife, the children, position in the world.
The piety.
He loves God, if that's what you're saying. A perfect and upright man.
Piety is hard enough to take among the poor who have to practice it. A rich man's piety stinks. It's insufferable.
You don't like him.
I don't have to. You're the one who has to like him.
I thought you spoke of Joe with sympathy.
Job on his donkey, oh yes, that makes sense. That's human. But this world master, this pious, flatulent, successful man who feasts on turkey and thanks God, he sickens me.
Of course he sickens you. He trusts the will of God and loves a woman who must sometime, somewhere, later, sooner, leave him. Fixes all his hopes on little children one night's fever could kill between the dark and day. Plants his work, his enterprise, his labor, here where every planted thing fails in its time. But still, he plants it.
God will teach him better, won't he? God will show him what the world is like, what man is like. The ignoble creature, victim of the spinning joke.
God will teach him. God will show him what God is. Enormous pattern of the steep of stars, minute perfection of the frozen crystal. Inimitable architecture of the slow, cold, silent, ignorant sea snail. The unimaginable will of stone. Infinite mind and midge of matter.
Infinite mush. Wait till your pigeon pecks at the world the way the rest of them do. Eager-beaked and naked bum.
I tell you, nothing this good man might suffer, nothing at all, would make him yelp as you do. He prays God no matter.
Why must he suffer, then? Does Job fear God for nothing? Satan replied. Have you not put a hedge around his household and everything he owns? You have blessed the works of his hands, and his flocks and herds have spread across all the land. But stretch out your hand and strike everything he has, and he will surely curse you to your face. The Lord said to Satan, Very well then, everything he has is in your hands, but on the man do not lay a finger. Then Satan went out from the presence of the Lord. Why must he suffer then? Shall I tell you why? To learn. Every human creature is born into the bright delusion, beauty and loving kindness care for them. Suffering teaches. Suffering's good for us. Imagine, men and women dying, still believing that the cuddling arms enclose them. They'd find the worms peculiar nurses, wouldn't they? Wouldn't they? What once was cuddled must learn to kiss the cold worm's mouth. That's all the mystery. That's all the muddle. Well, we learn it. God is merciful, and we learn it. We learn to wish we'd never lived.
This man will not.
Won't he? Won't he? Shall I tell you how it ends? Shall I prophesy? I see our smug world master on his donkey, naked, miserable, and alone, pissing the stars. Ridiculous gesture, nevertheless a gesture, meaning all there is on earth to mean. Man's last word, and worthy of him.
This man will not. He trusts God. No matter how it ends, he trusts him.
Even when God tests him, tortures him?
Would God permit the test unless he knew the outcome of the testing?
Then why test him if God knows?
So Job can see.
See what?
See God.
My children are dead. I don't know what to say. I lost all my wealth and all my property as well. But how does that compare? How does that measure up to the loss of my children? Where are those members of the group of the initiated I so lauded before? How many of you have children waiting for you at home this very moment? How many of you take your kids to school every day or have seen them off to some university somewhere? How many of you have fond memories of sporting events and vacations and camping trips with fires and marshmallows? Think about your child's face. Think about their eyes and the way their hair smells in the morning. Think about them playing in the yard or wanting to open holiday and birthday gifts. The smile on their faces. The way they ramble on and on about stuff you only half understand when they're 3 years old and the world to them is one marvelous adventure after another. Do you remember the day they were born? Do you remember the fear and trepidation as you prayed that everything would be okay? What about the first time you held them in your arms? Did you cry? Did you weep tears of joy like I did? Imagine all of that. Run all of that through your mind as quickly as you possibly can. Now, imagine that heart-stopping moment when a stranger knocks on your door and tells you all of that has been stripped away. I cradled each of them in my arms. I pressed their heads to my chest, and my tears fell on their cool flesh. I cried out their names. I hugged them to me, squeezing my eyes shut, willing myself to wake up. But part of me knew I wasn't dreaming. No nightmare could be that terrible. Maybe some of you have lost children too. Maybe some of you know what it's like to pour so much of yourself, so much hope and love and affection and promise for the future into your child, only to have that life snuffed out. And if so, I'm sorry. I am so very, very sorry. No parent should ever see their child buried. There is no greater curse upon the whole of this planet. And yet, I cannot stop trusting in the Lord. All he gave me was his to take away. I cannot let my faith waver because that faith is the only thing keeping me afloat right now. Dear Lord, I trust in you. Your will is your own. The only thing I ask is that you be a father and take care of my children the same way you always have for me. Amen.
Well, my friend, you see the position? You see how it all comes out in the end? Your fears were quite unfounded, weren't they?
My fears for you?
No, for him.
He wouldn't understand if 20,000 suffering creatures shrieked and tore their tongues out at him, choking in a bombed-out town. He'd be thankful.
I think he understands it perfectly. I think that a great yea saying to the world was wonderful. That wounded and deliberate amen. Affirmation.
You think it's wonderful? I think it stinks. One daughter raped and murdered. Another crushed by stones. A son destroyed by some fool officer's stupidity. 2 children smeared across a road at midnight by a drunken child. And all with God's consent, foreknowledge. And he blesses God? It isn't decent. It isn't moral even. It's disgusting. His weeping wife in her despair next to him, and he on his trembling hand bones praising God. It's nauseating.
You don't lose gracefully, do you?
I don't lose. Skin for skin, Satan replied. A man will give all he has for his own life, but stretch out your hand and strike his flesh and bones, and he will surely curse you to your face. The Lord said to Satan, very well then, he is in your hands, but you must spare his life. So Satan went out from the presence of the Lord and afflicted Job with painful sores from the soles of his feet to the top of his head. And Job took a piece of broken pottery and scraped himself as he sat among the ashes. His wife said to him, are you still holding on to your integrity? Curse God and die. First my children, now my wife. She's not dead. That would be understandable. That would be another sad twist of fate. In many ways, that would be easy. By now, I'm used to that. No, she decided to leave me. She decided that being around me wasn't worth the trouble anymore. Can you blame her, though? I'm a broken man now. All the wealth and acclaim I once had is gone. The life we built together is gone. Our children are dead and gone. And I'm left a homeless, hopeless rag of what once was a man. I gave her everything that I am, and she threw it back in my face. She decided that it was easier to cut loose and run than it was to stick by my side. For better or worse, my ass. I told her we had to stick together, that God was looking out for us, and that as long as we had our lives, there was still hope. She said my faith was misplaced, that my God had forsaken me. If he really loved me, I wouldn't be suffering as I am. I tried explaining faith to her. I tried explaining that we can't let it grow in the good times and wither in the bad. She wouldn't have any of it, though. For her, continuing to worship God when he allowed such horrible things to happen in our life was like swearing fealty to the executioner who raked the whip across our spine. She never said goodbye. I didn't even see her go. I just turned around one day, and she was gone. Now, I sit alone atop my pile of ash and dung. I reign supreme over a kingdom so many people would rather die than live in. I look at everything I've lost, all the death and destruction and defamation I've dealt with, and I only have one question. What have I done? What have I done, God? Did I not give enough? Thanksgiving every day. I sacrifice to you. Even at my children's funerals, I continue to thank you for the short time I had them here on this earth. And what happens? My body is broken and my wife abandons me. I know I've done nothing wrong. I've followed your law and I've obeyed your commandments. I do not deserve this punishment. I am innocent. Then Eliphaz the Temanite replied, "Consider now, who, being innocent, has ever been punished? Where were the upright ever destroyed? As I have observed, those who plow evil and those who sow trouble reap it. At the breath of God they are destroyed. At a blast of his anger they perish. Can a mortal man be more righteous than God? Can a man be more pure than his Maker? If God places no trust in his servants, if he charges his angels with error, how much more those who live in a house of clay, whose foundations are in dust, who can be crushed more readily than a moth? Between dawn and dusk they are broken to pieces. Unnoticed, they perish forever." Is that it? Are you angry with me, God? What could I have done to upset you? I'm only human. I know I mess up, but don't we all? How in your presence could anyone be righteous? You are perfection. We're the opaque facsimiles of your glory, darkened by the sins of this world. There can be no comparison. If we're to be punished for falling short of your glory and perfection, then who on this earth could ever be innocent? We've all sinned and fallen short of your glory. Why then am I the only one being punished? Is my sin greater than anyone else's? Have I done something worse than stealing? Are my crimes more atrocious than those who start wars? Is the man who rapes children and slits their throats and dumps their bodies on the side of the road a greater man than me? Why is he free of your punishment while I wallow in filth? Where? Tell me, God, where is the justice in that? That's why he fumbles Job. Job wishes, thinks there should be justice somewhere. Beats his bones against the glass. Justice in this cesspool? Think of it. Job knows better when it's over.
Job knows justice when it's over.
Then Bildad the Shuhite replied, "When will you end these speeches? Be sensible, and then we can talk. Why are we regarded as cattle and considered stupid in your sight? You who tear yourself to pieces. Is the earth to be abandoned for your sake, or must the rocks be moved from their place?" Then Zophar the Naamathite replied, "Surely you know how it has been from old, ever since man was placed on the earth, that the mirth of the wicked is brief, and the joy of the godless lasts but a moment. Though his pride reaches to the heavens, and his head touches the clouds, he will perish forever like his own dung. Those who have seen him will say, 'Where is he?' Like a dream he flies away, no, never more to be seen, banished like a vision of the night. The eye that saw him will not see him again, his place will not look on him anymore." I realize everyone goes through bad times. I'm not trying to say none of you do. And I'm not trying to downplay anything you might be going through in life right now either. But I lost everything. And I mean everything. For what? Why? Is God picking on me? Because sometimes it sure as hell feels that way. And you say the mirth of the wicked is brief. Are you implying then that I'm wicked? I who sacrificed my God? I who never let my faith waver? I who even at my children's funerals continue to give prayers of thanksgiving? How can that be wicked? Again, I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I know for a fact that I'm better than most. So what is it, God? What have I done? What crime have I committed that is so atrocious to deserve all of this? How am I supposed to deal with the punishment when I don't even know what I did to deserve it? Is an explanation too much to ask for? I demand justice. Justice. No wonder he laughs. It's ridiculous. All of it. God has killed his sons, his daughters, stolen his camels, oxen, sheep, everything he has, and left him sick and stricken on a dung heap. Not even the consciousness of crime to comfort him. The rags of reasons.
God is reasons.
Elihu, son of Barachel the Buzite, said, "Listen to this, Job. Stop and consider God's wonders. Tell us what we should say to him. We cannot drop our case because of our darkness. Should he be told that I want to speak to him? Would any man ask to be swallowed up? Now no one can look at the sun, bright as it is, after the winds have swept the skies clean. Out of the north he comes in golden splendor. God comes in awesome majesty. The Almighty is beyond our reach and exalted in power. In his justice he does not oppress. Therefore men revere him. For does he not have regard for all the wise in heart?" In his justice and righteousness he does not oppress? What then is he doing to me? Is this not oppression? Have you not seen the wasted white of a man I've become? Where is God's justice here? Do you hear me, God? I know your power is beyond my farthest reaches of my imaginings, and I know you've done a great many things in my life. I'm not asking to know what you know or to see what you see. But if I'm to be punished, then I demand to know my crime. Let me see my accuser. Let me look into the face of the one who can, with a clear conscience, allow such horrible things to happen in my life. Then the Lord answered Job out of the storm. He said, "Who is this that darkens my counsel with words without knowledge? Brace yourself like a man. I will question you, and you shall answer me. Where were you when I laid the earth's foundations? Who shut up the sea behind doors when it burst forth from the womb? Have you ever given orders to the morning or shown the dawn its place? What is the way to the abode of light, and where does darkness reside? Can you take them to their places? Do you know the paths to their dwellings? Do you know when the mountain goat gives birth, or when the doe bears her fawn? Will the wild ox consent to serve you? Will he stay by your manger at night? Do you give the horse his strength, or clothe his neck in a flowing mane? Does the hawk take flight by your wisdom and spread his wings toward the south? Brace yourself like a man. I will question you, and you shall answer me. Would you discredit my justice? Would you condemn me to justify yourself? Do you have an arm like God's? Does your voice thunder like his? Then adorn yourself with glory and majesty. Clothe yourself in honor and splendor. Unleash the fury of your wrath. Look at every proud man and bring him low. Look at every proud man and humble him. Crush the wicked where they stand Bury them all in the dust together. Shroud their faces in the grave. Then I myself will admit to you that your own right hand can save you. I'm sorry, God. You asked, who is this that speaks with words without knowledge? And I spoke of things I did not understand, things too wonderful for me to know. You said, listen now and I will speak. I will question you and you shall answer me. My ears have heard you, but now my eyes have seen you. Therefore I despise myself and repent in dust and ash. Please, Lord, forgive me. I knew not what I did. It's not easy being human, is it? We go through life trying the best we can. We fall short, but I think we all like to consider ourselves good people, don't we? And that's where the difficulty is. If we're all good people, then why do we have to sit by and watch as bad things happen to us? Well, everything good seems to happen to the braggart, or the bully, or the boss who treats his employees like sin. It's always that jerk at work who gets the promotion, isn't it? Or the butt kisser in class who gets the good grades and then slanders the teacher behind their back. Maybe that's what it is to be human now. Maybe that suffering is what defines us. What if we're good people because we suffer? What if, in some way, we can never begin to imagine God's trials for us are some of the greatest gifts He gives us? I don't know. And that's the hardest part. For me anyways, I don't like not knowing. Though I guess that's where faith has to come in. When my job was taken away, and my money, and my home, and I lost everyone I ever cared about, God was all I had left. It was in that moment I had two options. Either I could walk away, or I could continue to believe in Him. If I ever got angry with God, it's because I did the latter and not the first. What was God's plan for me now? I can't know. Maybe now He'll let me die. At least I'm at peace. Whatever the case, my heart is with Him. I know that my Redeemer liveth, and then in the latter day He shall stand upon this earth. My name is Joe, and I am ever faithful to my God, the Lord of the heaven and of the earth. How could I do anything else?
Jere's part of our ministry there. And I really have loved serving with Jere over the last several years. He's got a real heart for the intellectual side of faith. And I think that a lot of people, kind of skip over that part more than they should. So I really like to hear Jere's thoughts on faith and on Scripture and how he interprets things. As far as his performance tonight, I thought he did a really great job of showing how we all deal with these struggles that, that it's just a part of life. And sometimes things do seem unfair. And it seems like all the evil, wicked people we judge them, are the ones that are getting all the rewards. But that's exactly what the Bible tells us, is that they've gotten their reward. And for those of us who are looking to a future hope, our reward is yet to come. And one of my favorite things about the story of Job is when you read at the end of the first chapter, he says, after all these things have happened, he's lost all his possessions, he's lost his children, and the first thing he does is fall to his knees and worship God. And that right there, I think, tells us everything we need to know about Job. Is that his anger, like Jere pointed out, his anger and his frustration and his arguing with God is not because he has rejected God, but because of his faith. He loves God so much that he wants to understand what's happening. But even, in that, I think that is an act of worship. And that's the thing I love about Job, is that he is a worshiper above all things. So, Jere, I think you did a great job.
I'm James Hallmark. I'm a professor and administrator here at the university. I don't think you ever had a class with me. Yeah. But we certainly had plenty of interaction over the years. I used to run the honors program when Jere was in it, and just various other ways that our paths have crossed. And certainly I've always respected him from a lot of different perspectives. And I think those of you who haven't been exposed to his work before tonight can see why I respected him from a lot of different perspectives. What an outstanding performance. Really was. I don't know anything about performance, so I'm not sure I can comment on the performance side, but I'll tell you my opinion about a couple of things. One is that, I need to say something before I get to that part. I need to acknowledge what the book is here. If you don't know what this is an original first edition 1611 King James Bible. And in fact, it is a He Bible, which is a misprint that was in the very first editions that came off the press. It refers to Ruth in the book of Ruth as he a time or two. And they corrected that mistake very early in the process, and this is one of those very, very rare He Bibles. And so I'd encourage you to come up and not touch it. Come up and look at it after. And actually, you are allowed to touch it, but just be incredibly careful. You are allowed to touch it. It's part of the Remnant Trust here at West Texas A&M University, a collection of rare books that we are honored to have. And I think we should acknowledge the fact that they were very generous in allowing Jere to have it here this evening. And I bet it's open to the book of Job. Yes. Yeah, it is. At any rate, there's some things I want to mention. What an ambitious project. Not only is he piecing together three sources of material, but one of those sources of material is his own writing. And I think that is an incredibly ambitious project. My personal opinion, to take nothing away from the other two, is that the piece that he wrote for this is amazing. That was the centerpiece, right? Okay. And I'd encourage you to do something with that. I know you want to be an author, or you are an author, working on your third novel, I think, or shopping your third novel at this point. I think you need to do something with what you've written on this. Maybe it's expanded into something that is manuscript length or book length, or maybe it's already been done and this is an excerpt from it. But what I thought was so powerful about that center section is it really humanized Job. It put it in a language and a context that I think we understood real well. And I think when I look at Job, we think of Job, the book of Job, as being like 3 chapters long. It's not. It's like 42 or something like that. And it's like 40 chapters of whining and complaining and screaming and yelling. Okay? And you get overwhelmed by it. And it's written, even in the NIV, it's written in King James Version in terms of it's not the language that we use. And I think what Jere really effectively did in the writing for that section he did in the middle that he wrote is make it where it touched me. It wasn't some distant esoteric thing that, back in the land of Uz or whatever. It was like this was here and now. And I thought that was very powerful, and I think there's an audience for that, a market for that, if you will. I'd encourage you to do that. I think we were all glad it ended where it was, because you might have been naked. Some of us were getting worried. At first I was like, what's he doing? And I can't say that I know what you were doing, but I felt that it symbolized well the beating down that Job was going through. I assume that's kind of the direction you're going with that. At first I didn't get that, but as it went on, I thought, oh yeah, I get this. Is that he's, you know, at the very beginning he's together and he's dressed sharp, dapper and whatnot, but then things start happening to him, and not only does his life falling apart, but his physical appearance, his disposition is kind of crumbling. I thought that worked well for me. I never got the tie over here. I never really understood the tie. I'll let you talk, don't worry. But I never understood the tie over here. It's like, why is he putting that tie on? And there's got to be some symbolism there that I probably just missed it. But that's the nature of any of these kinds of performances, is that some of those kinds of symbolism are going to come across clearly to the audience, and somebody in the audience like me is going to say, huh? You know, but anyway, that whole ensemble of going amongst those three, I like that pretty well. I think if I was going to redo it and rethink it, I might shorten distances and, you know, that kind of thing in terms of making that transition more quick. You definitely needed the break from one to another. There needed to be that clear demarcation from this to this to this. I think for my purposes, it was a little bit too much, but it was really well done, and you did a great job. Really did. I thought the whole duo reading over here worked real well. Actually, that's everything I wrote down that I wanted to comment on. So I don't know. I've never done one of these either, but I don't know what's appropriate. But I thought it would be appropriate for Jerry to respond or provide further comments that you might want to provide, and then I guess probably the evening would be over. So I'll turn it over to Jerry and let him talk.
I promise I won't keep you. I don't recognize all the faces. I'm sure some of you are probably here for class, maybe. If you are, make sure that you sign the sheet back there so that you get credit for being here. Okay, in regards to the tie thing, in the play, that's a play from JB, the character that Brandi played, his name is Mr. Zeus. The character that I played, his name is Nichols, and they're observing Job as they're going through this, talking back and forth. The tie, I was just trying to get something red that I could have on stage to sort of symbolize, yes, I'm playing Satan in this role, the antagonistic character. That's all I could really come up with. I'll take, if anybody has questions, I'm not going to take more than 2 questions. If you've got a question, anybody about anything?
I haven't had a question, but I like the interval between, because this gave you time to finish the thought of what you were saying before you went over to send the other character. And that I do like.
Thank you. Anybody else? We got one more go. If anyone wants to take it.
Well done.
Oh, thank you. I do want to give thanks to Dr. Trudy Hansen. She can't be here tonight. She's gone to a conference, I believe, in New Zealand. She is the professor. She was actually very generous in letting me do this course. It originally wasn't going to make, but she was able to get it through so I could do it as an independent study. So I can still get credit for this. So if you'll see her around, if you ever have her in class, she's a great professor. So, okay, that's all I got. My sister Brandi, I almost forgot. She's wonderful. So